The engines hummed steadily, a low vibration through the cabin, lulling most passengers into heavy sleep. Overhead lights were dimmed, the world outside swallowed by darkness, the plane cruising silently across the clouds. In row 6, a young woman leaned against the window, her breathing slow and peaceful, completely unaware of the storm building around her. A blanket slipped slightly from her shoulder as the seatbelt light glowed faintly above. To anyone watching, she was just another traveler, anonymous, unremarkable. But tonight, she was the reason the air seemed charged with tension. It began with shadows. Figures moved down the aisle, quiet but deliberate. Passengers stirred, some blinking awake, others shrinking back in alarm. 3 men in black tactical gear advanced together, their boots whispering against the carpet. Their presence was unmistakable. Navy SEALs, disciplined and cold, their eyes scanning every face with mechanical precision. The flight attendant froze mid-step, her smile faltering as she realized this was no ordinary security check. Murmurs rippled through the rows, nervous whispers rising like the start of a storm. The men didn't pause, didn't look left or right. They moved with purpose, their formation tightening as they drew closer to row 6. The young woman slept on, her lips parted slightly, her hand resting against the armrest. She didn't see the passengers sitting rigid in their seats, didn't hear the sharp intake of breath from the man in 7C, or notice the way the entire cabin seemed to hold its breath. Then, without warning, the SEALs stopped. Right beside her, the aisle narrowed, their bodies forming a wall of black. One signal passed silently between them. And for the first time that night, the young woman in row 6 was no longer just another passenger. Far away from the silent tension of the plane, a skyscraper gleamed in the midnight city. Inside its top floor, behind glass walls that overlooked a world he had built brick by brick, the CEO paced like a caged animal. He was a man who commanded empires, who could summon fleets of lawyers with a single phone call, who signed deals that shifted entire markets. And yet, tonight, he was unsettled, not by numbers, not by rivals, but by a choice that weighed on his chest like stone. He had done something few would believe. In a life where appearances mattered more than truth, where investors demanded not only profit but the illusion of stability, he had ordered companionship. A girlfriend on contract. Someone beautiful, poised, able to smile at galas, laugh at the right jokes, and stand by his side during photographs that would appear in glossy magazines. She was supposed to be temporary, just another role filled, another box checked in the ruthless script of his success. But there was one person who refused to see her that way. His daughter, a little girl with wide eyes who had never cared about stock markets or headlines. To her, this woman was not an accessory but a presence, gentle, warm, and real. The child had looked up at him one evening, after dinner, when the noise of the city had dimmed, and asked the question he hadn't prepared for. "Daddy, can she start forever with us? Not just pretend." The words hung in the air, sharper than any critic, softer than any plea, and impossible to ignore. He had faced hostile boards, ruthless negotiations, and endless betrayals, but nothing had ever struck him like that simple request. For the first time in years, the powerful man felt his armor cracking. The cabin was silent except for the steady thrum of the engines. Passengers sat stiffly in their seats, eyes wide, breaths shallow. The Navy SEALs stood like statues, blocking the aisle, their focus locked on row 6. The young woman stirred, shifting in her sleep as though sensing the weight of dozens of stares pressing against her. Slowly, her eyes fluttered open, confusion flickering across her face when she saw the black-clad figures towering beside her. For an instant, fear shot through her, her pulse racing as she clutched the armrest. But then something unexpected broke through the tension. One of the SEALs lowered to one knee, and from his gloved hand appeared a small velvet box. The sight stunned the passengers into silence. This was no arrest, no mission of force, it was something else entirely. A collective gasp rippled down the aisle as heads turned, every pair of eyes fixed on the unfolding moment. And then, through the wall of uniforms, he appeared. The CEO himself, stepping into view, his sharp suit softened by the small hand of his daughter holding tightly to his. He looked nothing like the untouchable titan of boardrooms and business magazines. He looked like a man stripped bare, vulnerable, and willing to risk everything in front of strangers at 30,000 feet. His daughter's eyes sparkled as she smiled at the woman, her voice carrying just enough to be heard over the hum of the engines. "Please say yes." The box was opened, the ring catching the dim cabin light like a star. Passengers leaned forward, some holding their breath, others already tearing up. The young woman pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, her eyes filling as realization washed over her. In row 6, forever wasn't just a dream. It was happening, here and now.